following is a conversation with Caitlyn Scott. She's a journalism major at Point Park University. She is the Vice President of Outreach for the Point Park Bridge USA chapter, as well as a campus reform correspondent and an intern at WJPA Radio. We sat down to discuss political openness, the Twitter files, her Point Park experience, and more. This is the Not Just Politics podcast. To support us, check out our page on the Say What Needs Saying network and our links for social medias in the description. Enjoy.
Politics, the backbone of human thought, dictating our decisions within the 21st century world on the aspects of economics and personal relations. Do you feel trapped and unsure how to handle others' opinions or how they'll evaluate yours? If that's the case, you're listening to Politically Diverse, the podcast in which discusses and educates you on making political viewpoints, left, right, and in between, more inclusive within your daily life. Today, I'm joined here with the host of Not Just Politics podcast, Carson Brunn, and producer Gavin Hosterman. Guys, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having us.
So, what's so funny?
I don't know. You're taking over the show.
I am taking over the show. I feel powerful right now, and I really appreciate this. So, first, I just kind of want to ask you, so as far as discussing your political viewpoints and stuff on campus, how has that been received by other people?
I think it's been received well. I don't really talk to that many people, so I think the amount of people that actually know me and listen to what I have to say isn't very large, but I think it's been received well. I like to think that I'm pretty fair. I don't really align with any political ideology, so I base my worldviews issue by issue. So I think that people, once they know that, they can't really put me in a box, or they don't want to, and I think that helps. I think it would be helpful for a lot of people if they did that as well.
Now, do you think that a lot of people who have more of I'm not saying that you don't have a developed political perspective on things, but for those that are more refined in saying that, oh, I lean 100% one way or I lean 100% a different way, do you feel that a lot of students are kind of discriminated against in a way, as far as not feeling that they're not able to share certain political views just because they might be taken out by other people harshly, if that makes sense?
Yeah. I think from what I've experienced and from what I've seen, that is to a certain extent the case. I've been in classroom discussions where a political topic has been brought up and the professor opened the discussion by saying that the opinion that did not particularly align with what the university has propped up, for lack of a better word, that professor denied or shut down the other side of that discussion, and then the discussion began. And to me, that didn't seem right, because I think when you do that, the discussion's over. There's nothing really to talk about whenever everyone in the room feels the same way about something. You're all just saying stuff that everybody agrees with. Nobody's going to have their ideas challenged. Nobody's going to grow. It doesn't seem like something that's very good. I really didn't like that. That bothered me a lot. And that was only really one or two times that happened. I've seen plenty of social media posts generalizing people of a political ideology. In Point Park's case, it's conservatives a lot of the time that get generalized, lumped into a group. They get labeled as something that's completely morally reprehensible, which they are not, as a way to dismiss their ideas. That really bothers me too.
Now, why do you think that's exactly the case? Is it just the way that society in general is nowadays? Is it something just with the campus in general? Is the administration not doing enough, or what would you think?
I think there's a lot of layers to that. I think if you let's go top down. From what I can see, social media has incentivized a lot of screaming at each other, a lot of fighting. In particular with Twitter, the character limits on tweets really removes nuance, and it kind of encourages slam dunking on people. It doesn't allow you to really dive into the depths of a conversation about anything, guns, immigration, abortion, without all you end up doing is just getting into a slam dunking match. And I think that's pretty unhelpful. And then I think that's sort of a societal level. I think that everybody does that. I think that the political right does that. I think the political left does that. I'm maybe, I don't like it at all, but, yeah, I was going to say something. I'm not going to say that. I don't like that stuff at all. And then I guess at more of the campus level, I don't know the actual metrics breakdown of Point Park student body, but it certainly seemed like to me that I see a lot of students openly expressing progressive or leftist viewpoints. I see a couple students expressing more liberal viewpoints for a distinction, the difference between leftism and liberalism, I guess, from my understanding being that classical liberalism is in defense of religious freedoms and religion in general, free speech, that sort of thing. In a way, like the classical liberal to me is almost like a modern day conservative, like a moderate conservative in a sense. I've heard a lot of people say that. I think you could certainly make that argument. I think that, and I try to make that distinction because I don't like to, I try to be as precise as I can. I really don't like putting those labels on people. I don't like the labels at all. I don't think they're helpful. I think it reduces people down to words that can be dismissed because they don't agree with you on XYZ issue. Yeah. But if I would say, so I've seen a lot of students expressing progressive or leftist viewpoints, some classical liberalism, not a ton. And I don't see very many conservative voices. I think that's a bit of an issue. I think people need to be exposed to that. Now, with that being said, what's really interesting, and I do think for lack of a better word, attract a certain type of person to have a conversation with me, even though I'd like to have conversations with everybody. I've gotten the impression that social media makes it look a lot worse than it actually is. Yeah. I see a lot of people saying a lot of crazy stuff on social media that I find pretty odious, if that's the right word. I think it is. It's just people say crazy stuff on social media. But then when I go sit down and I talk with people on campus, I try to do it as much as possible. Yeah. I find that people are pretty reasonable. I can have respectful disagreements with people, which I think is great. I'll be honest, I kind of forgot what the original question even was. Oh, you were talking about the levels of if that's a societal thing. It's okay. Honestly, I almost forgot the exact question I even asked. I'm sorry, I went on a tangent there. No, you're fine. But I think there's sort of those two layers to it. I think societally, that's one layer of it for sure, that social media has done that to us. And then on campus, social media sort of fuels that. And I think another layer of that is, that second layer was sort of like the student body on campus. I'm actually fond of the administration on campus. I think Don Green's a great guy. Everyone at the administration I've met and talked to has been great. I do, however, think that the university in a way did adopt a political leaning, even though they claim that they don't. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's kind of like almost any university, I guess, depending too on the area that you're in. Sure. Yeah. I'm sure there are some colleges that lean conservative, but I haven't seen one. Correct, same. Actually, I don't know, maybe Edinburgh. I went to Edinburgh, and I kind of felt like that was a more conservative area of Pennsylvania, but I didn't also get like a full tour, so I didn't get that. But it seems like a lot of the departments, there are some departments of the university that, whether or not you think these things should be politicized, I don't think they should be, but they have been. Yeah. And when the university aligns with those, it may not be a particularly political thing, but I do think it sort of creates an atmosphere where certain people are more comfortable expressing how they really feel than other people. Now, how do you think that we could try to make the campus, or even just the people that we talk to in general, be open to expressing the opinions that they're more afraid that they can't express because they're not part of the majority? How do you, is there a way that we can try and encourage more people to be more open, or how do you think that could come about? That's pretty tough. I think I have two answers. One of them is that the people that think that they are going to be harmed by hearing something they disagree with, toughen up. Sorry. You're going to go into the real world, and you're going to go into corporate spaces, and you're going to work with people you don't like. As much as I do think that in a way, universities did indoctrinate a lot of people into the more leftist or progressive ideology, and then those people left the universities and they sort of bullied the corporations into doing certain things. I see that a lot, and that might be a skewed viewpoint. I'll be honest. Someone could certainly challenge me on that, and I would be open to hearing the counter argument. But you're going to go into the real world and you're going to find people you disagree with. And some people say things that are genuinely hurtful, that are genuinely dangerous and harmful. But a lot of the stuff that I see people saying on this campus that are dangerous are not dangerous. It's just like that's what they feel. That's how they believe. And so I think for those people, some of those people, I don't think it's their fault some of the time. I think sometimes they've legitimately just never been exposed to these ideas, and their side has made them feel like the idea they disagree with is evil or it is morally wrong. So I don't think it's entirely their fault. And I think those people need to genuinely be put in a situation where they can be welcomed into a space where they can at first gently and then hopefully later on a little more concretely have their ideas challenged, so that those people can get used to leaving a conversation saying, okay, I didn't agree with anything that person said, but I talked about more than just politics with them. And you could still like somebody's, I mean, I don't agree with you on a lot of stuff. Doesn't matter.
Dang. This just got interesting really quick.
No, I'm saying
I
like,
know.
Because you're more of a conservative-leaning person, and I'm not as much, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
And then I think for the people that feel like they can't have their viewpoints, that they can't speak over fear of damaging their reputation, I think that, again, we need to create those spaces where we do not hold judgment against anybody for the things they say. Now, obviously, if you're going to be wild and you're going to start saying things that are harmful or calling for violence, then we're going to have to do something about that.
Yeah, like people have to do it in a way that's like respectable to the other person and not just like, you know, like you said, like initiating a war pretty much.
But if you tell me that you were happy about the Roe v. Wade overturning for XYZ reason, that's fine, because I think there are arguments for that, and there are arguments for why it shouldn't have been overturned.
I think, too, a lot of people don't realize that, like, you know, it's just an opinion at the end of the day, and it's kind of like, I'm not necessarily right, but you're not necessarily right either.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I also think there is a layer of that where these opinions
can be right in a sense?
No, I'm saying those opinions, in a way, we can say they're just opinions, and they are. And I think it is beneficial for us to have a diversity of opinions. But I think from the people's perspective that from the other side that maybe wouldn't agree with your statement would say like, yeah, well, these opinions are shaping public sentiment, especially on social media. They're shaping public policy, especially if those people have institutional power. And those people are also voting. So I think that in a way, they are just opinions. I think other people view it as like, no, this is what's going to be shaped.
Yeah.
I think people look at the Roe v. Wade thing, not to keep rehashing that.
No, you're good.
And I'm not going to give my opinion on it because that doesn't really matter. But I think people looked at it as people that were pro-life elected Donald Trump. And then the conservatives played the long game with the Supreme Court, and they put the justices in place that they knew could be on their side when it was time to make that decision. So I think people viewed that as, okay, well, these pro-life people that I'm not saying this is me, this is a person maybe on the left or center, it doesn't really matter, would say, well, these people are pro-life, they elected Trump. I think they're morally wrong for being pro-life. So therefore, in a way, their opinion did sort of help and shape the situation. I don't really agree with that, but I can certainly see where they're coming from.
Okay. Now, like, do you ever think that we will see in our lifetime a time in which any and all sides of the political spectrum come together? Like, I mean, not necessarily, because it's not always going to be fully, because you're never always going to have, like, you know, everybody come together in that way. But I mean, do you ever think that we could see more of a coming together instead of more of like a political separation?
I would like to think so. Jonathan Haidt, one time, a philosopher, said that he thinks that 9/11 might have been the last true moment where everybody was on the same side about something. And I think he's very possibly right.
I agree with that.
Because we had coronavirus. That was politicized very quickly. The Russia-Ukraine conflict was politicized very quickly. So as far as all Americans having a sort of shared experience where the political sides seem to come together. Now, actually, with that being said, I have seen more left-leaning voices on campus here condemn or show support for the people of China in these protests that are happening right now. I don't know if they've openly condemned the CCP, but they've certainly showed support for the people of China. And as far as I know, conservatives are also siding with the people over the COVID restrictions in particular. So that could maybe be a situation where we can find some common ground.
Okay. Now, like, what about like anything though with like our current issues within the United States?
Oh, at home?
Yeah.
That's going to be really tough.
Why
That's
do you
going to be
think?
very tough. Well, I don't know. I think I think that's a multi-leveled.
Yeah.
I think that social media fuels a lot of fires. I think that it is absolutely, you can certainly make the argument for the benefits of social media. And I agree with a lot of them, especially when it comes to business and the markets. I mean, I'm for capitalism. So I think when it comes to businesses, social media has been largely impactful in, I think, a positive way. But again, it incentivizes the slam dunking. It removes a lot of nuance. And I think the fact checking gets kind of goofy sometimes. Fully admitting that is a biased take. I'm not a fan of fact checking. I think that an institution that is fact checking could easily be ideologically slanted, and they could pick data in a certain way, and they could. Like Gavin, Gavin and I have seen memes on Instagram that get fact checked and removed, and it's clearly labeled as political satire, and it gets.
Wow.
So
I haven't seen any of that yet.
I think the fact checking is kind of goofy, but yeah, I don't know. It's really tough at home to get everybody to look at something in the same way because we've become so polarized. I think that would be really tough.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's pretty much all the questions that I have for you guys. So, I mean, do you guys have anything else that you would like want to add about anything that we discussed or just anything in general?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not that I can think of in the moment.
Okay, awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate you guys letting me take over part of your show.
You're
it means
welcome.
a lot.
You took over. It was a lot of fun.
Sweet.
Come
Thank
back
you guys.
again.
Okay, I will, definitely.
Are we just doing dead space and then I'll just roll into my part? Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'll do some dead space and then
Thank you guys.
intro with the Oh, this is going to be tough.
Oh, boy. Thank you guys. I appreciate you.
Can I just read this on my phone?
We can just record it later.
Can we just record it later and throw it in? Okay, that's fine. So we'll jump into our section now. I'll get some dead space. Can you tell us about your Point Park experience as a politically active person?
My experience at Point Park as a politically active person. I cannot talk. Let me see. I mean, since I've come here on campus, I only recently started to become more politically vocal about my opinion. I'm of course, a more leaning conservative. So when I first came here, I was under the impression that more students here did not necessarily agree or would want to hear my viewpoints on campus. So for the first 2.5 years, I kind of just listened to everybody else's opinion and kind of shut mine out because I didn't really think that I would make a lot of friends or be able to meet as many people as I did if they knew that I was more of a leaning conservative and that I voted for Trump and that kind of aspect. And so it was last year when I actually met with another student on campus, Logan Double, and he kind of got me a little bit more out of my shell, being like, hey, don't worry about what other people are thinking of you. Just come out with me, go to some of these political events of these conservatives and just kind of see what it's like to be in a room with people that share the same viewpoint as you. And so I kind of went out and started doing that. I started writing for a more conservative-leaning newspaper company called the Campus Reform. And I was just kind of I don't understand why, if other people have the right to express their opinions, why I shouldn't be able to. And so I kind of just got to the point where I was hey, I'm going to be leaving here soon. People's opinions of me don't matter. And if a person doesn't like me just because of a political perspective, then they're not really meant to be in my life. So that's kind of been my experience so far.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. And good on Logan for helping you.
Yeah, thank you,
get
Logan.
out of that situation. He's a friend of mine. I think he said something really interesting to me. He said that he sort of felt like he started being more politically vocal because he felt like there were students on campus that didn't have a voice, and he felt like he had to be that person for them. So, I mean, that right there sort of proves that statement he made to me, and I think that's really great.
Yeah, it's just that I feel like a lot of students never get never kind of like you said before, challenged on their opinions. And it's kind of well, if you're always looking into your own perspective, you're never going to know how the other side interprets things. And it's like you have to try and be open and give them a chance to see where they're coming from. Because it's not, politics isn't just, oh, well, it's one side, it's everything I believe, and that's the way that it's going to go. It's like there are other people out there that have different perspectives and look at the world in such a different way that it's like, you know, try and at least give me the chance to explain to you why I feel this instead of just judging me just solely because my opinion doesn't align with yours.
Yeah, and I do think that some of the students on this campus haven't been exposed to conservative ideas because last year my roommate would have friends over and they'd be talking about political stuff, and a lot of them leaned pretty far left. And all I would do was I would just mention, and this is not a fault of them, they were all great people, I just think they were never exposed, because I would just bring up like the top layer of the argument from the conservatives, and they'd be like, oh, I never heard of that before. I'm thinking like, yeah, so I don't think those people were ever really exposed to that. And I think that they should be.
Yeah.
What do you think about Elon Musk? Now, it's been like a month since he's bought Twitter. It's been about a month.
About a month.
Ish. Yeah. So what do you think about, are you on Twitter?
I am on Twitter, but I don't actively use it. Like it's more of I'll go on there once in a while if I hear like of like a big story breaking to find like other news sources that are on there. But like other than that, for the most part, not very often.
Yeah, I'm not on there either, so this might be a little tough to talk about. But I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts about the changes that have been made in the last month or so with him stepping in.
I mean, honestly, I thought it was very funny that a lot of the staff, well, at least what I had heard, is that a lot of the staff was protesting against him because a lot of them worked from home and he wanted them all to come into the office.
Oh, yeah, that was funny.
And so pretty much he was just like, well, if you don't want to come in, I'm taking that as your resignation.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It's just funny how, like, the difference in changes, like how people like were so used to like working from home. And, you know, it's like when somebody else comes in and that there's a lot of controversy with this person coming in and taking over. It's like, well, now I'm going to defy against this place and everything that you've done just because, you know, you're a different person.
Yeah, I do understand to an extent the working from home thing. If it saves the company money, I can understand that. If people have children, it was probably a lot easier.
I understand that aspect of it, but I think personally the COVID-19 pandemic for the most part is over. And I feel like we need to get to the point that, I mean, I understand that if you have like health risks and that kind of thing, and like you said, like with children, I understand that. But if you're the kind of person who's just like me, who sits in my apartment all day other than just going to classes and I'm perfectly healthy, there shouldn't be an excuse for you to not get up and go to work.
Yeah, and I think to an extent, this is just something I've been feeling. I don't have any data on this, so if I'm wrong, please, someone tell me.
We'll sue
I would
you.
like
No,
to
I'm
know. But I think that at some point, people just got to start going back into work.
Yeah.
Like, go get up, put on like something semi-decently presentable, and go to work.
Yeah.
I think. Because if people are at home all the time, I don't know how some people... I mean, Gavin probably would be fine. Just staying at home, not going in. But he's also not as much of a people person as I am. I need to be around people.
Yeah,
so for
I'm
me,
the exact same way.
I would
sit in my apartment sometimes for like 5 hours, and if I have nothing to do, I would just go out for a walk because I'm like, I can't stay in here.
Yeah, I just have to go out and see.
I just have to go out and see people and other things.
Even if I don't talk to them,
Exactly.
just seeing people
Exactly.
brings some comfort. Yeah,
Exactly.
I absolutely agree. So then to follow up on that, what were your thoughts on the Twitter files being released?
Honestly, I didn't really look too much into that, so I can't really have an opinion on that because I don't know enough.
Well, I could whip out the laptop maybe, or maybe I'll just do it on my phone to read about it. So for those who do not know, I think it was about a week and a half ago, Elon Musk said that sort of the game was up. Twitter was going to release their internal reports about the alleged suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story. I don't know a whole... Okay, from my understanding is that there was a New York Post article that came out that was detailing this supposed laptop that Hunter Biden had, along with some emails that was saying that he was jumping around the world, going to Ukraine, China, various other countries, picking up bags of cash for consulting, and that there was the big guy mentioned in these emails, and that big guy was Joe Biden. So the story is that Joe Biden was getting money
Yeah.
from these foreign countries through his son, which seems like political corruption to me. To other people, I'm sure they can just gloss over that, but that does seem like corruption to me. So anyway, the New York Post put out that story.
Yeah, I heard about that.
When it came out on Twitter, according to the Twitter files, they labeled it as hacked materials under their hacked materials policy, even though they did not know if that was true or not. And they directly suppressed the story. They took down they blocked people from sharing it through DMs. They took down people's tweets.
So it's kind of almost in a way like similar to like when COVID-19, like doctors and stuff were going on talking bad about the vaccine. They would just kind of like block them and suppress them out. So it's like similar to like that aspect.
I don't think there's as much concrete evidence for that stuff, but I do think there were a couple occasions where that did happen. But
yeah.
So Elon gave the information to Matt Taibbi, who's a left-leaning investigative journalist. And he put out this huge Twitter thread. I think part 2 is coming out soon if it's not already out. It might be out by the time this episode drops. So it's like a multiple
part.
It was a 36-piece thread.
Oh, wow.
About how Twitter was internal emails through Twitter, taking down tweets, saying that, you know, we don't know what this is. We don't know if this is true or false. We're just going to label it hack materials and we're going to suppress the story. And then I think Ro Khanna, who's a congressman, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't pay attention to who's in Congress at all.
I'm kind of the same.
Because I don't care. They're all criminals in my eyes, so I just don't pay attention to them. But Ro Khanna reached out to Twitter and he was like, hey, this seems like a violation of the First Amendment. There's going to be backlash over this. Let's get on the phone and talk. And Twitter blew him off, and it's a whole mess. It's just a whole mess.
Gosh.
And I think people knew that it was happening, but this kind of this solidified it. This proved that it was happening, and it all happened a month before, in the months going up to the 2020 election.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it doesn't look great for Twitter in that regard.
No,
and then people were getting mad at Matt Taibbi, being like, "Oh, Matt Taibbi sold out to do PR work for the richest man in the world." It's like, no, he's not. He's not doing PR. Like, this was not Elon Musk's. Like, if Elon Musk had done this and then paid Matt Taibbi to spin the story,
then it would be,
that's PR work.
Yeah.
This is not PR work for the richest man in the world. Elon came and bought the company, said, hey, I found out they did some shady shit. Now I'm going to help expose it. And just because he happens to align with conservatives more than liberals, all the liberal journalists were like whining about it on Twitter. It was hilarious. They were so mad for nothing. Like, Matt Taibbi is a left-leaning journalist. The guy, I don't get why people were so angry at him. Probably because it didn't make
sense for him to be the one to.
And it also didn't make Twitter look good or the Democratic Party look good.
Right.
So I mean, that's probably all that needed to be said on that front.
Oh, geez.
So with all that being said, what do you think that tells us about institutional or corporatized infringement of free speech?
Like,
I guess, like, what are, because I was curious about this, what kind of protections could we have then to prevent something like this from happening? Because that does seem like a pretty direct infringement on free speech from a corporate entity. Mm-hmm. So what do you, I don't know, do you have any ideas of any possible solutions or any possible workarounds to a situation like that?
I feel like a situation like that is so complicated to be able to figure out. Because I mean, like when you're working with, like you said, like a bigger institution, like I don't know how to answer that. Oh.
On top of the fact that he like, I mean, maybe the fact that Elon cut Twitter down to like 25% of the size might help.
Yeah.
But that's interesting because some people feel very strongly about it. Some people, the problem I have with it is just that now this proves to me that a political party can reach out to a social media company and say, hey, this story doesn't make us look too good. Can you get rid of it for us? And Twitter will go, okay. And like the Trump White House did it too.
Yeah.
There was evidence in the Twitter files
it's on
that
both sides. It's not just one or the other that way.
there was evidence in those documents that the Trump White House had done the same thing. However, the data that they leaked does show that because the Democrats had donated more money and put more money into Twitter, that avenue of suppressing speech was more available to them.
Maybe don't allow for political parties to donate
why are we
to
allowing,
Twitter.
Why are we? That was
that's
crazy
one
to me.
way. That's one way. Don't let them donate to Twitter.
That would be a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
And I don't know how. I didn't.
How does that even work? Like, why is Twitter relying on political bodies that way for donations?
Well, I don't think they are. I think that they just got money. From what I understand, they just got money from Twitter. Maybe it was for like political ads and stuff like that, that kind of thing. I don't.
But it's just a point that it's like they should not really, I guess, in a way, dictate over a social media company in that way. Because it's like they're pretty much influencing a social media company to sway more one way just because, oh, well, they're getting a bigger buyout from them.
Yeah, that seems like that should maybe be something that we look into getting rid of.
I think so.
Okay, a little bit of a pivot. What are your thoughts on Bridge USA since you have joined the Point Park University chapter?
Honestly, terrible. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We have a hater in the building.
We have a hater. Yeah, I hate them. They're terrible, especially like the two, Carson and Gavin. They're completely terrible people. Awful, horrible. No. Honestly, since my time being part of Bridge, I've honestly loved it. I mean, since we've only had a few meetings, like I really wish we had more often.
We're gonna plan. We have to put you in our Google file, our Google.
Oh no, it's the Twitter files, but the Google files instead.
Yeah, the Google. Yeah,
it'll be the newest one. It'll be the newest one.
We have plans for next semester to plan out a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
We'll have more discussions. But what else? I mean, like, what benefit do you think it would bring people at Point Park?
I think kind of giving them the opportunity to be in a space where they can talk about their political differences and like be heard and listened to and not necessarily rejected and pushed off to the side. I think, especially at Point Park, that's something that I feel that we really need because I personally would like to learn more about the other side other than my own because for me, it's kind of like you're understanding, you know, somebody else's perspectives of the world and how they look at things and how they see like the political workings of like the government and that kind of thing. And it's like, if I want to give people that chance, I want others to give other people the chance to do that.
Yeah,
too.
That's very fair.
And it's kind of like, I feel like Bridge would give students the opportunity to come and do that and like listen to each other instead of just yelling at each other.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I think with our society, a lot of people don't listen to each other anymore. It's more just kind of they stay within their own little echo chamber, like looking at their own kind of things online without ever really being exposed to different perspectives. And with Bridge, I feel like you can come and you can do that and like learn something new that like, you know, you didn't know yesterday.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a benefit. What are you hoping to get from the summit in February?
See, I'm hoping to get like, again, a different balance of perspectives because, you know, maybe somebody else could change my mind and make me reevaluate things differently than how I previously thought. I think it's more that and maybe too like ways that for us, like our chapter here, that we can improve and maybe be able to bring more people.
Yeah.
And I feel like right now, Bridge, like, we advertise and we do things, but at the same time, we never get enough people to be able to come and feel that your voice can be heard.
Yeah, that's also, I think that's also a Point Park thing because we did get an email from Sale that said that every single club was reporting problems with recruitment and retention. So I think everyone's kind of going through that.
Yeah.
But maybe we could be I hope we could be the first ones to change it.
Yeah, I hope so. That would be nice.
Yeah. Where does Donald Trump fit in the in the current political landscape of 2022 and 2023?
Oh, wait, what do you mean by the landscape? Like, what exactly do you mean?
It seems like a lot of conservatives don't want him to run anymore. It seems like people kind of turned on him a little bit, especially he turned on DeSantis.
Yeah.
So there's this whole thing that I didn't expect this to happen at all.
I didn't really either, to be honest. I mean, I feel like it depends. Because for me, the part of me is kind of like, I would maybe like to see DeSantis run because it's a different perspective. He's younger. The way that he's ran Florida, it seems, at least in my mind, to be very positive and beneficial to like the economic process of the state and like, you know, for the people. But at the same time, it's kind of like, you know, I had heard on CNN that they were like, oh, yeah, like Ron DeSantis should run. He would make like a great presidential candidate for the Republican side. And for
CNN said this?
Yes. And for me being a conservative, that makes me think, well, what does Ron DeSantis have that they like? I
think I didn't hear about this, but that's probably a fake out.
Maybe
because I heard that was something that happened during the midterm election cycle was that Democrats were making ads about the Donald Trump endorsed candidates that were supposed to make them look bad, but actually made them look good to conservatives. So they'd be like, oh, so-and-so, he supports guns and he supports that. And it was a fake out and as a result, the candidates that were easier for them to beat got put on the ticket. So that's probably what they're doing. They're probably going, oh, DeSantis is great. Because which is hilarious if they think they have someone that can beat DeSantis. Because I'm sorry, I'm still going to say this. I don't know who they're going to run. I don't know either. With that being said, I don't keep up with politicians and what they're doing or who their names are or where they are. So maybe the Democrats have somebody, but I don't see it. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to run Joe Biden again? He's not going to beat Ron DeSantis.
No, I don't think.
A lot of people want to run Gavin Newsom.
Oh my God!
I know. No, I heard. My opinion is that if Gavin Newsom comes in, we thought Joe Biden was worse. It was nice knowing the rest of you because I'm moving to Mexico because it's going to be the exact same in the United States as it is in Mexico. So it doesn't even matter at this point.
Listen, if they think Gavin Newsom can beat, maybe I'm just naive. Maybe I don't know anything about politics, but I feel like Gavin Newsom is not beating Ron DeSantis.
I hope not.
It's the battle of the governors.
It's the battle of
and one of them. I'm sure there are people that think California's lit. I think California has parts of it that are lit.
They're lit, literally.
I guess I have parts of Florida that are.
I'm sorry, there
are parts of Florida that are lit too, though. I don't know. They can give it a shot with
honestly,
Gavin.
At the end of the day, it's just kind of like you have to pick the worser between two evils because I feel like either side, either way you look at it, they don't pick the best candidate to run, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's
like both sides have not found a candidate where you can like them. It's now people are choosing them because, oh, well, it's the lesser of two evils. That's their reasoning nowadays. It's not, oh, because I agree fully with your policies. I really like the way that you speak, you know, the way that you dress, like professional, fantastic. It's more just like, well, Joe Biden couldn't be worse than Trump or Trump can't be worse than Joe Biden. So I'll just choose the lesser of two evils and just, you know, pray that it works out.
So is DeSantis your ideal candidate then?
See, honestly, I am still personally more leaning towards voting for Donald Trump.
Okay.
I think. I mean, for me, it's just the way that Donald Trump. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like the way that he spoke. I understand that part of it, but to me, it's that the way that he spoke is kind of like how he would talk to a normal person. And he just like gets right to the point. Doesn't beat behind the bush. And it's very like, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to fix it. And you're either going to suck it up and like it or just deal with it. And I think we need somebody in office. Now, if somebody's like this on the opposite side, then that's fantastic. But we need somebody who can just suck it up and take it and like not care about anybody else's opinion.
So you don't think that Joe Biden did that?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't think that Joe Biden...
He's not the same personality. Trump is like an egomaniac.
And I'm not saying that we need somebody who's as extremely egotistical as Trump. I'm not saying that. But we just need somebody more who's like, I'm going to fight for this, and whether you like it or not, just suck it up and deal with it.
Yeah.
Because it's like Joe Biden, it's just kind of like, oh, it's fine. Just let it happen. Oh, yeah, we're doing everything we can. And then what gets done? Nothing gets done. At least to me, nothing gets done. I haven't met one person who's like who's a full Joe Biden supporter that I've asked them like, oh, hey, like, what do you like that he's done? And they just look at me and are just kind of like, oh, well, you know, he's planning on loan forgiveness. Well, did that happen? No.
It did not.
Are we still waiting? Yeah. Are we ever going to get there? Probably not. Like, I've never met one person who's just like, oh, everything that gives me like a clear reason as to why they like him.
Yeah, I think that he was just not the mean orange man.
Correct.
And I think that's why.
I think that's why people, again, it goes back to like what I said before. It's the lesser of two evils. It's either you pick one and just pray that it works out. And I think everybody looked at Trump as that, oh, well, he's too blunt. I don't like the way that he speaks, the way that, like, you know, he handles negotiations, like, you know, with the tariffs. Oh, he's hurting all of these people. And they looked at Joe Biden and was just kind of like, well, he doesn't really do too much. He's harmless. So just put him in and see what he does.
Yeah, I think that that might have been exactly what they said. Maybe not, though. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Can you name one thing that you like about Joe Biden?
One thing that I like?
Mm-hmm.
I liked the idea of loan forgiveness. I think being able to help students who can't really fully afford to go to college would be beneficial, but it's him promising that, oh, yeah, it's definitely going to happen. And then now, oh, the application, now you can't file anymore. Oh, well, we're just going to push back you paying on your loans and stuff. And in the meantime, you'll forget about the $10,000 to $8,000 that you could have gotten like on top. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then a federal judge in Texas struck it down. So is it, I don't know if that's going back through, if they're going to try again, know. But okay.
I mean, I think that there are certain ideas that he has, but it's him and his administration don't know how to execute them. And I think that they like emphasized on like, oh, yeah, well, we're definitely going to do this. And they just retract and they push it back and they push it back. And it's kind of like, well, don't tell me promises that you're not going to keep. And I mean, I know it's like that in every administration. I know President Trump has done stuff where he's like, oh, yeah, we're going to do this. And then things fall through. I understand it. It's on both sides. But it's like important things like that where it's like, for me, I am a student who has a loan taken out that I might struggle when I get out of college to pay. And that when I looked at, oh, it's guaranteed to happen to you, I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. And then when it's taken away from you, you're like, oh, now what am I going to do?
Yeah. Well, then can you name one thing about... I feel like naming one thing about... I was going to say name one thing about Trump that you don't like. Name one thing about DeSantis that you don't like.
That I don't like? Let me see. About DeSantis... Oh, God, that's a hard one for me. I mean, I guess because I actually went to see DeSantis speak when he happened to be in Pittsburgh, I think, over the summer. And it was a lot of what he talked about. And I mean, of course, all of it was pertaining to Florida. And I mean, I think it's great that what he's done for Florida is, you know, is working out the way that he envisioned it to. But when he was coming more for the purpose to kind of talk to Pennsylvanians to vote more for like Mastriano, Dr. Oz. It was like around that time because he came with Mastriano. So my thing sometimes with those kind of people, it almost reminds me in a way a little bit about Trump, where it's just kind of like he talks about, oh, all the benefits that I did in Florida, that everything in Florida, it's fantastic, it's great. Okay, well, how does that benefit Pennsylvania?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that kind of thing. It's a little bit like kind of going with like Trump, how like sometimes the egotistical side of him where he's like, oh, well, I did all of these things and, you know, I was the one. And I mean, like, I understand that, yes, you are the one who's doing it, but you don't have to reiterate to me that it is you who is doing it.
Yeah, it was sort of funny. Like Logan told me
Oh no.
That like,
Logan, what you
that,
doing?
like no, that like the Trump rally was like Trump featuring Mastriano instead of like a Mastriano rally where
Yeah,
Trump shows up. It was like
exactly.
it was just Trump
It
putting
was
on
just
a
Trump. That was just it.
just Donald putting on a show and then saying, "Oh, and by the way, here's
yeah,
the guy
here's
that's
Mastriano."
here's the guy that's running in the race."
Oh yeah. Oh hey guys, like I may or may not be running for president. Oh yeah, by the way, here's the guy who's running for so and so in your state. Good luck.
It seemed like he just employed every wrong political strategy going up to the midterms.
Who? Trump? Or,
yeah, Trump.
Okay. Okay.
I think that I mean, not that I'm an expert political strategist,
Same.
but it just seemed to me like everything he did was either at the wrong time or in the wrong order. And
Name
you said all the
name
wrong.
a specific example though.
Okay, so like, for example, making a rally and then putting him. It's like we're putting on a concert, right? But we're gonna put the opener as like
As
the
main
opener is going to
guy.
be in the biggest writing, and then you know what I mean. Like so that
Right,
doesn't make any
right,
sense. It feels like
right.
it should have been a Mastriano rally featuring Donald,
Yeah.
and then Donald could have walked up and bigged up Mastriano, like be his wingman.
Right.
But it didn't seem like that. And then, trashing DeSantis
Right.
at his rally 2 days before the election or a day before, whatever. That doesn't seem great.
No, that didn't
He's
seem right.
running, so that didn't seem great. And
Yeah.
it was all just because he sees DeSantis as a threat. I would imagine in 2024.
And two, my thing is that DeSantis just got reelected. I think it's a 6-year term for governor, right? Isn't it 6 years? Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, I heard something about this. There is a process for like I don't remember how that works, but if he would run for president,
He'd have to give that up.
he'd have to give that up,
and
or
I heard in a
Yeah.
statement him saying that I want to fulfill my duty to Florida. So it's not guaranteed that DeSantis is even going to run for president. So my
Yeah.
thing is kind of like, why did Trump have to go and bash him like that if he's not 100% guaranteed that he's going to run for president?
Do you think that Trump's paranoid? Do you think, because I've heard people say this, and I don't know if I fully agree with it or not, but people have said, like, oh, I think Trump is afraid that he can't win. So he's going to go after everyone that he sees as a potential threat.
I mean, that may be part of just his egotistical personality. Maybe.
Because he's always been like, I always win. I always win. I've
Yeah.
always won.
Yeah.
And then he lost. And he did lose.
Yeah.
He lost. So I'm wondering if he's afraid to run again. Because that's maybe why he attacked DeSantis whenever DeSantis...
I think that might probably be part of it, but I feel like any political opponent would probably be like that in some way, more or less, just because it's your competition.
I don't see the Democrats doing that though.
No.
Or maybe they did.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't really know too much, so
I didn't see
as far as that goes.
Pete Buttigieg calling him Sleepy Joe on stage. That was all Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
So that's
That is true.
It's interesting. I
That
just
is
don't.
true.
It didn't seem like it was a smart move.
No, it was not.
Right before if
Right.
it was a day after the midterms and DeSantis won, fine. Like insult
Honestly,
him all
I
you
could
want.
I could only see it if he was officially running against him or like was competing against him for some kind of
Something.
position or like something in Florida or like whatever. Like I felt like that when Trump did that was extremely unnecessary. And
Yeah.
I mean like that's like one of the things that sometimes I do like look at like Trump and I'm just kind of like, do I really want to vote for him just because of that? Because it's like if he's gonna do that to somebody who didn't even really do anything to him,
No.
what's he gonna do? Who else is on the table next?
Yeah, and I think that and that part didn't make any. And I think
Right.
the one thing I think is like, I think people's reasoning for why DeSantis could run was that he's pretty much, I think, the only one in the Republican Party that if he went into the primary with Trump and Trump wiped him on the floor, his career isn't over.
Right.
Because the people of Florida love him, and he could just
Right.
go back and
Yeah,
be
he
the
could just go
governor of
back.
Florida.
And two, he's young.
And he's young, so he
Yeah.
could try again.
He could try again.
But so I don't know. Maybe he'll just stick with Florida, and
I don't know.
if he wants to, go ahead.
I mean, I guess in the meantime, kind of going back to like, in a way, what you first sort of asked me, I guess for now, I would more so lean if Trump was the Republican candidate to vote for him.
Okay.
But if it was between Trump and DeSantis, I think time would really more so tell on
Yeah.
that. Because I mean, we haven't really seen what DeSantis may or may not do yet. And same like with Trump in certain senses either. So it's kind of too early to kind of pinpoint the exact person who I would personally pick. But I mean, in the meantime, I would still lean more towards Trump just because I already know the way that he was before, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's going to be a long 2 years.
Yeah, it's going to be a long 2 years. We have to just get through all of this first, and then after the real crap begins after that.
That's what we've been saying, though. And that's the thing is, like, every time we're like, if we can just get through the election cycle so the next psycho can get elected. It's like, they're all psychos.
They're all psychos.
They're all psychos. And we just keep...
Politics is like gambling. You win some, you lose. It's
Oh,
like,
God, I don't even know about that.
I don't know.
It's just like...
You walk away crying sometime.
It's going to be a long 2 years.
It really is going to be, but it's okay.
going to be long, and it's going to make me sad.
Oh, no. We still got to get through college.
And I just want to graduate.
Oh, same.
That's it. No, seriously.
Graduate fall next year. I can't wait.
I have a friend that works at All Sides, which is a media company. They give you like a left, right, and a center news article for one story at the same time. And she was like, I am like, they're doing research and stuff, I guess, on like the 2024 election. And there's just like, she showed me her computer screen. There's just like 1,000 tabs. Like there's a folder for Trump, and it's just like a billion. No. It's going to be a long.
It's going to be a long process.
It's going to be a long election cycle.
Gotta get the bowl of popcorn ready.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a circus up until this point, but
time's only going to be able to
It could easily get worse than a circus. It could easily get worse very fast.
No, it can definitely get worse. It'll get worse before it gets better.
Hopefully in the future we don't look back and say, oh, God, the circus was the good part.
Oh, God. I hope.
Yeah.
That'd be bad.
Okay. You actually brought this up to me today. Congress is considering dropping the vaccine requirement for the military. Tell me about this.
So I think it's been within the last few days they were talking about, now since like COVID's like in a way over in a sense that, the vaccine requirement is still required for the military to get in and do all that kinds of stuff. And so the government was just kind of like, hey, why don't we just like now, since we're looking at it, just get rid of it because now like we don't need it anymore. And then I guess the Senate today that I saw earlier passed the ending of the vaccine mandate for the military.
Oh, so they actually did get rid of it.
I think they did. Now
Okay.
the Senate passed it.
Okay,
so,
gotcha.
At least if I'm wrong, blame Carson. It's not my fault. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'll take the blame for that one.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay, so then I have a question for you. How, because I heard this a couple days ago, I thought it was really interesting. How deadly does a virus have to be, being how high of a percentage of death does a virus have to get to for you to say, all right, we got to mandate the vaccine?
I mean, I would say, everybody's different though. That's the problem.
Let's say across the board, there's a virus that's killing 25% of people.
Ooh. I think, that's a good question.
Now let's say it's 10. Let's say it's 1 in 10 people. 1 in 10 people are going to die from this disease. Do we mandate a vaccine?
I personally don't think you should mandate it. I think it should be left up to personal choice.
Okay.
Because I don't believe that the government should be telling me what I have to put into my body.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It's just kind of like if everybody had the personal decision to do it, there would be no going back and forth yelling at people being like, oh my God, you're unvaccinated. What is wrong with you? Because it's like when they mandate it, I feel like that leads it to become politicized. Because then after everybody turns on each other saying, oh, well, how come they're following the science? Why aren't you getting it? What do you mean? Oh, it's because you're one way or this way. Oh, that means you're an anti-vaxxer. You don't want to get it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I heard that, and I was thinking about this myself, and I was not in support of the COVID vaccines, even though I do believe that it was real and it was serious. I don't like the COVID deniers. But I was thinking, I was like, well, it wasn't 10%. I don't even think it was like 5.
No, it was like, it was very small.
But I was thinking, like, what's my number? If it's 50%, sorry, I'm no longer libertarian. You have to. Now, I don't even know. It's tough, though, because, like, I want to say that if it was 50%, like, people got to get this thing.
Yeah.
Like, if it's 50.
Yeah.
But if it's 10, if 1 in 10, I feel like 1 in 10 people, that's still a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's still what, like 33? That's 10% of the country. That's like 33.5 million people.
Yeah.
That's still too many for me, I think. But
Yeah.
it's interesting because it was a comedian was making this point. He was like, everyone has a line when it comes to those issues. And that line is very malleable because he brought up he brought up the Roe v. Wade thing, and he was like, even the most liberal person will be like, okay, it's your body, your choice, up to like 3.
Yeah.
And then after that, we're like, what's going on here? And he was like, but 9? 9's a softball team.
That's awesome. That's a
Which
good
is
way
so
to
funny
describe
because
it,
it's
though.
so true.
It is so true.
If it got to 9, everyone would be like, stop
whoa,
this.
Stop
Like,
it.
you know what
No,
I mean?
quit. Time out. Time out.
I think it's really interesting, right? Because I guess
Right.
you could apply that to anything, right? Like how deadly does a virus have to be before we start saying, before even the conservatives are like, please
Yeah,
get it.
just
Like,
do it.
please,
Just-
right?
just do it already.
Because I think there would be a number.
Yeah,
I do really believe that if it was 50% of people, you'd have conservatives first in
Yeah.
line to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
Maybe not first, but I'm saying like
Yeah.
they'd be in the line too.
No.
So I think that's really interesting.
I just never leave the house at that point.
Yeah.
You just don't go outside. You're just like, nope, done.
I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd
wouldn't.
have to vax up.
Yeah.
And I did vax up. I didn't get boosted, but I got vaxxed. I'd have to vax up in that case.
Yeah.
I'd have to.
I mean, honestly, it's like for me, I just kind of, like I said, it's like more like personal choice. I
Right.
mean, it's just kind of like if you want to get it, good for you, go and get it. If you have health risks, then I understand it. Like, then that's completely fine. But it's like if I'm somebody, like who's healthy, don't really have any known health issues as of right now. I've already had COVID. So, I mean, it's not like, for me, it wasn't the best experience, but I mean, it wasn't the worst experience either. So it's like kind of like, why should I have to be told to go and get it if I know that I can handle it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's like full transparency. That was my thing during COVID. I was like, it's not like I believe it. It's a real thing.
Right? Yeah. No,
right?
I'm
But
not
also,
like I'm not like those conservatives where it's like,
if
oh,
you're-
it's a hoax. It's like, no,
Yeah.
I had it. I lived it. It's
real.
real.
It's real. But also, my thing was like, it's not taking out 10% of the people.
Right.
There were.
I think that some people made it a bigger deal than it actually was. Like now, people still make it a
Yeah.
bigger deal. Because I mean, like, I don't know. It's just like sometimes when I see a person who's my age now, granted, I don't know your medical history. I mean, I'm only just going off of perspective of, what you look like on the outside,
Mm-hmm.
which I mean, I know I shouldn't do that, but I mean, I think everybody does that to people.
Yeah, I
in a
mean,
sense.
I don't have any comorbidities or like any health problems like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could see like the blowing it out of proportion thing. I do think there was a little bit of fear mongering that happened.
I was just about to say that.
My parents also both worked in healthcare, so I heard their perspective on it, and that like it was a very serious thing.
Oh, yeah.
But also I do think there was a little bit of fear mongering, that kind of
'Cause
thing.
I mean, I see people that are like around our age on campus still wearing a mask, and I mean,
that's
like,
your choice. You go
yeah,
ahead.
I mean that's your choice, but sometimes I'm just kind of like,
I am
but
allowed to call
are
you goofy for it.
Yeah, like I mean,
No, I'm
like,
kidding. I don't actually.
well, no, I mean it's just kind of like sometimes in my mind I'm just kind of like, well, I mean, you don't. I mean, I'm like stereotyping somebody, which I mean, I know I shouldn't do, but it's kind of like I look at you and you're like the exact same, like, same as me. And I'm just kind of like, are you sick? Like, I mean, are you just like,
Yeah.
is it from the fear mongering that you're still just like that scared of it? Like, I mean, that, and it's kind of terrible that like, I can't say the politicalization. I cannot say it, of like, COVID causes people to still be like that. And then there
Yeah.
are people like me judging other people because of that.
If it was someone inside, go ahead. When people are outside in Village Park,
That drives me wild. I'm sorry.
I guess I just don't really care. I'd just be curious to ask them why.
Yeah.
Because that's actually a good point. It's like, because I did know people in high school that after that first lockdown was over and they took away the mask mandates, I knew people that would still wear them and they're like, I just feel safer with it on, which I didn't ever
Yeah.
feel safer or not as safe with a
Same.
mask. I just wore it because you had to wear a mask, like,
Yeah.
whatever, put on a
Too,
mask.
if you didn't have like the specific kind of mask, it didn't necessarily 100% protect
That was
you
also
anyway.
a thing. But so I'd just be curious to see what those people think, because if it was one of those things where they just feel safer with it on, okay,
Yeah.
go ahead, that's fine.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there, I guess.
Yeah.
So we just found out today that Brittany Griner, who is a basketball player, I don't know what team. I'm sorry.
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
going to be one of those people that
I don't
claims
either.
that it's so funny. It's like the that's a whole other thing. But no, I don't watch I don't watch. Okay, listen, I don't watch sports in general. I don't watch any sports.
Not even like hockey. Like,
nothing.
you don't watch the Pittsburgh Penguins?
I'm not even kidding you. I have never sat through a full game of football.
Well, football's awful.
I've been to hockey games.
Oh, I was about to say.
But in the last 7 years of my life, I've never sat through an entire game of hockey.
Dude, you're missing out.
I can't.
Penguins have been doing so well recently.
No, I know they have. And listen, I'm a poser because when they win, I get happy for like 2 minutes.
Fake fan,
right?
Fake
no, I'll
fan.
fully admit that. But I don't know what team Brittany Griner played for. But
I don't
she
either.
was traveling over to Russia to play because I guess in the off season, a lot of those WNBA players go over to Russia to play because they can make bank. So she had marijuana on her in some form. She had a marijuana cart on her, and that's illegal in Russia, so they detained her. It was a whole thing. Allegedly, they sent her to the gulag for a little bit, which is insane.
That's like...
But she has been returned, or she's at least been released. Is she back in the States? I imagine she's back in the States already. She's back in the States, which is very good. I'm glad that she's back. Russia's crazy for that, right? For detaining people for stuff like that. Now, with that being said, is there a discussion to be had around the fact that, okay, she probably knew that was illegal and brought it anyway. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that she deserved to be detained. I'm not saying that, but they were like, yeah, she was a victim of being imprisoned by a foreign country that is not friendly with the United States, but like she also knew what she was doing in a way.
Yeah,
she did know. And then I saw someone made the really funny point. They were like, a lot of these people were like, oh, free Brittany Griner because like she should not be imprisoned for medical marijuana, and the government was like right on it. And someone was like, what about the thousands of people in jail that got arrested for marijuana possession? They're not going to get released because they're not good at throwing a ball into a hoop.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I didn't even think about it like that.
Just because you're not good at throwing a ball into a hoop, you don't deserve the quick, speedy.
Well, it's a celebrity effect. It's because they make the money, they get the views, and it's kind of like, oh, well, everybody idolizes them. Oh, they're important. Oh, well, we got to get them out as soon as possible.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good point. Because
see, my thing though with that is that she was released and she came back, but yet there is. Still, I'm blanking on the name. It's a Navy, I think.
We traded her for a Russian arms dealer.
Yeah.
What's his name? No clue. It's a Russian name.
I wasn't going to talk about
I'm
that.
Sorry.
But no, you're fine.
No, I'm sorry for the people for not knowing that name. I just found out about this today. I didn't get a chance to read up on it, but I did hear that we traded her for a Russian arms dealer.
But like what bothers me about it is that like we traded to get her back, but yet there's a Army veteran who is in prison. They've been in prison, I think, for 4 years, that they said. I forget. I think the last name is Whelan. I don't know if that rings a bell.
I don't. I didn't read up on any of that stuff.
I saw a little bit of it today, but I guess he was detained outside of a Russian hotel for like, I don't know exactly. I think he was like committed and tried for a crime that he didn't commit. Mm-hmm. He's so far spent 4 years over there trapped in the Russian jail and has pleaded with President Biden to get him out. And instead of trying to get him out first, they get her out first instead, and they're still waiting because, oh, well, right now we can't really do anything to get you out right now, even though he served for the United States.
Yeah, I don't know the other side. I'd like to hear the other side of that story because I'm not sure what that's about.
I don't know like too much of it because like I only read up a little bit on it like earlier today. But I mean, I guess just for me, it's just kind of like, wow, there's somebody who's been over there who's pleaded with the United States government for years, was prisoned for a crime that he didn't even commit, and has wasted now 4 years of his life on a 16-year sentence in the Russian prison.
Has Russia said anything? Like, are they willing to release him?
I don't think.
That's true. They might also be like, no way. They might have him on lockdown. Well, that's really unfortunate.
But I mean, I think that they've been in negotiations, I believe. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think anything has progressed so far. But I mean, I just kind of found it convenient that it's kind of like going back a little bit. Oh, the celebrity effect, where it's like they can make a deal in negotiation and trade. And how long has she been in prison there for, roughly?
It was a couple months, wasn't it? It was 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Was it over the summer that she got detained?
I think so. I thought so, but I wasn't sure.
I have no concept of time anymore.
I don't either.
COVID completely
College
took
and
my
COVID.
sense of time and wrinkled it up and threw it in the garbage.
Right.
I have zero.
But it's just kind of like with that, it's kind of like, oh, she only spent months there, and because she's a celebrity, they were able to negotiate a deal and bring her back. And then there's somebody who fought for our country, and they spent 4 years of their life there, and yet, oh, well, we can't do anything for you right now, but oh, we'll circle back to you on that. We'll work on it. So I had to circle back to you on that, Jen Psaki.
I love making that reference.
Rip.
I love making that reference.
Circle
That was
back
so
to you on
funny.
that one.
That was so funny when she used to say stuff like
I
that.
know.
To circle
We'll
back.
circle back to you on that. Oh my God, that killed me.
Okay. We have some closing questions
Oh no.
that we like to ask all of our guests.
I don't want to get graded. Go ahead.
You're not going to get graded.
Okay, good.
What was one small act of kindness you were once shown that you will never forget?
Oh no.
Everyone has that same reaction, I've found.
Really?
Very few people are
Okay.
like, here's one.
Oh my God.
So just know you're not alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Simple act of kindness. Oh my God.
Or a small one or a random one. Just something small that you didn't think it was going to happen. Never forget it.
Is it bad that I feel like I've never had an experience
Oh,
like that?
no, there's nothing.
Like, I mean, other than like somebody holding the door for me. But, like,
I mean, hey, if you're never going to forget it.
I mean, I guess, but I mean, it was a random person that I only seen once and never again.
Oh, no.
I don't know, honestly. I'm not sure. Like, genuinely, I have no clue. That's
Put it on
so
the.
bad.
We could circle back to that. Put it on the back burner. We'll
Okay,
move on.
We'll circle back to it.
What do you think it takes to be a good leader?
I think determination, a little bit of confidence, but not to the point where you come off as egotistical, and showcasing to people that you want to help them learn and succeed, and not just watch them fail.
I like that.
That's what I think. Because I mean, to be a leader, I mean, I think too sometimes you have to, be harsh, but you're doing it because you want them to learn and you want them to progress forward in life. That kind of thing. And so I feel like that's the main thing of being like, yep, I'm a leader. Let's go.
Yeah. Okay. Philosophically, what are you most afraid of?
Oh no, why you guys, this is like a therapy session right here already. Oh my God. Let's see. I think I'm just afraid that I won't leave an impact on the world in some way, whether it's small or big. I'm not the kind of person that I care necessarily about being like, I have to be a well-known name to everybody because I did this. It's just kind of like, I just worry that someday down the road that people are going to forget about me, I guess, in a way.
That's real.
And
yeah,
it's
that's
just kind of
legitimate.
like, I worry about like, so hard about wanting to leave the smallest impact just on somebody or something. Because like,
Yeah.
I just don't want to be forgotten.
That's legitimate.
Oh, God, therapy.
So at the risk of repeating, what thoughts keep you up at night?
Point Park University. Their communications department and Chris Rowlandson's classes. They keep me up at night. I love you, Chris. I love you, Chris. Okay, all joking aside, I mean, I guess, okay, currently, honestly, that's not joking aside. Currently, it's been Point Park because of finals. So, I mean, in a way,
yeah.
in a way,
yeah.
that's not
That's
a
fair.
lie.
That's fair.
Not a lie.
It is finals week. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess for the most part, I guess like when I live here on campus, just kind of like, I mean, I guess like what my family's doing and just kind of like, oh, like if something were to happen tomorrow and I'm not home, like I guess it's like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I get that. I get that sometimes.
That bothers me a lot. Because I mean, even though I don't live too far and I can be home and back here in a day, I just always worry that it's like, what about if I'm not there and something happens and I might like miss an opportunity for something that like I can't go back and fix it. It's like one of those like late night depression thoughts, what I mean? It's one of those.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
So my grandfather lives with us, and he's a beast, man. Like he still golfs and stuff. Like he
How
just
old is your
won't stop
grandfather?
going. I think he's like 82 or 83.
Oh, God bless.
And he's still going, but and I just worry, like,
Yeah.
because I'm not home very often.
Yeah.
And I want
Yeah,
to say
you live further, right?
I'm only like 35 minutes.
Oh,
Not far.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
not far.
wow.
I mean, like that's 35 minutes of traffic too. It's really not bad.
Oh, wow.
I could also be
You live
home
closer than I
Yeah.
do.
I could be home in a day, but also it's like, you know,
It's just like you're not there in that moment.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, God forbid anything happens. Like I'd want to be able to say goodbye if I could.
Like,
and
yeah,
that kind
same.
of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that stuff does, and that goes with any member of my family because it can happen so fast. I mean, it can happen
Oh,
to
yeah.
anybody.
Yeah.
And you know, I do.
And it's just scary to think about that. It's just kind of
Yeah.
like, you know, it's like you don't think that it'll happen to you, but it's like sadly it does.
But you see it happen to
Yeah,
other
everybody
people
else.
every day.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of like
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, well, when am I next? And that like
Yeah.
terrifies me because
Yeah.
it's like you shouldn't think like that, but I mean like it
But it's hard not to
Yeah.
sometimes. It's really hard not
Yeah.
to.
well, that got really depressing really quick.
Yeah, I apologize for that,
It's
folks.
no, you're
What advice do you have for young people who are college freshmen or who are trying to get into the journalism area and want to have a career they can be proud of?
honestly, take any opportunity that's presented in front of you and just like go for it. Even if you feel like at the end of the day, it's something that you might dread because it might turn into something you love. Because
Okay.
honestly, through any experience, that's how you determine whether or not, like in whatever field you're going into, if you're really going to truly love it or if you're going to truly hate it. Because I kind of wish in a way when I was younger, when I decided to go here for journalism, that I took every opportunity. Because now, it's only now in my junior/senior year, since I'm planning on graduating a semester early, that's complicated, that, oh, there's like a lot of stuff in journalism that I'm kind of like, wow, I really don't like this. Maybe if I would have tried it earlier, would I have changed career paths?
Yeah.
Would I not? And I mean, like, for me, I can tolerate it now, but at first when I came here, I was just kind of like, wow, like this is not what I expected at all. So it's kind of like whatever comes your way, even if like, again, you think that you hate it and that you might like want to like jump off the bridge, just try it and you can always just like move on to the next thing afterwards.
Yeah, I got that pretty heavy when I came here. I think if I would have known about Bridge before walking into college, I wouldn't have come here.
Really?
No, absolutely not.
How come?
Because it's a small school. It's really ideologically slanted, and this, based on the data that Bridge has, this is not a place where chapters exactly thrive.
So where would you
So
have went?
now there are certainly chapter people that are running chapters at schools like this that are doing well, but
Right.
but you know, obviously at like a Pitt, you can pull so many more people.
Oh,
You have a
yeah,
lot more
'cause
politically
they have
diverse
so many-
base.
yeah.
Where would I have gone? I have no idea. I have no clue. But it probably wouldn't have been here.
Yeah. See, I kind of knew coming in a way about like the politically slanting.
No, I figured it would have been,
Yeah.
but I just didn't even know that Bridge was a thing back then.
Well,
I wasn't in this sort of space that I'm in now.
Yeah.
But if I would have known, I don't think I would have come here.
See, honestly, if it wasn't because Point Park's tuition was a lot cheaper than a lot of the other places that I applied to,
that was a part of it for me.
Yeah, I originally wanted to go for musical theater. And I
Really?
and I auditioned at a few places and I was just kind of like, I went and I experienced the opportunity and I was like, I cannot see myself doing this for 4 or 5 years.
No.
And I always wanted to lean back on journalism because I like the aspect of writing, radio production, podcasting, that kind of thing. And I was like, well, Point Park has a good media program. Just screw it. Go for it. And then I was like, oh, now I'm here.
Yeah, all the respect to the COPA majors out there.
Oh, yeah.
All the workhorses. It's crazy.
I couldn't do what they do. Like,
Yeah.
I do more singing now just as like a hobby. I can't act
Yeah.
to save my life. I would be dead if I had to act to save the world. Everybody would be dead, and I'm sorry for that.
It would be. Can you dance?
God, no. God, no. I don't know what's worse, the dancing or the acting. It's probably a mix of both. They're both horrendous.
No,
But-
seriously. Oh, shout out to those COPA majors, man. Y'all are workhorses. You're crazy. So
good for-
talented.
good for you.
I love going to see the shows because I
I
did
actually
that
have never
seven.
still been to a show
I did
here.
that stuff in high school and it was a lot of fun, but they are doing, I did like 10% of what they're doing now. And it was like a lot back then. So that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
See, I still have yet to be like been to a show. I never went.
I saw Spring Awakening last semester and it was
Oh.
fantastic. It was probably my favorite play I've ever seen. It was phenomenal. They crushed it.
Oh.
Yeah. And I do recommend going to check out those shows. Point Park Musical Theater. I don't know what their handles are on social media, but if you're on campus, go watch those shows because those people are so talented and those
I
shows
will
are
be
great.
doing that next semester, so you guys can
Yeah.
see me there. Hi.
Yeah. Actually, a buddy of ours is actually putting on his own show
Really?
next semester. Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm definitely going to that.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. He's coming
was
on
it-
tomorrow. Miles Hanna.
Oh, I love Miles.
Yeah, he's the best. He's
Oh.
putting on. He's coming on here tomorrow, actually, and he's putting.
Oh, cool.
Actually, it won't be tomorrow. It'll be like next week,
Miles, you're the best.
depending on when this comes. I don't know. He'll be on the podcast this season before
This
it's
season.
over.
Well,
So-
he'll circle back to you on the specific date of that.
Huh?
The episode will drop next week.
Yeah, that episode will drop next week. Okay.
Ah,
yeah.
okay.
So that one will actually drop before this one.
Yes.
Okay. So then in that case, that
Miles,
doesn't.
you getting? How dare you getting ahead of me? You know what? Screw everything I just said about you. That was nice. Forget it.
Forget it.
No, I'm
yeah.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us,
Thanks
and
for
thank you for
having me.
taking over the show.
Thank you
That
for
was
letting
fun.
me. That was awesome.
That was
Thank you for
fun.
letting me.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Happy holidays.
Good luck on finals, even though this will already be out
Yeah.
after the fact, but it's fine.